Welcome to a special episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. And this week, well, we had the Mercedes-Maybach S650 on test, and we thought it'd be criminal to be sitting in office. This is the S650.
The backseat of the S650.
The backseat of the S650, which is up in front, which is probably in the next district. It's got a massive V12 engine. 2 turbochargers?
Yeah, 620 horsepower,
Six-
1000 Nm. 1000!
620 horsepower, 1000 Nm of torque. 0 to 100 is something like 5 seconds.
A little under 5, I think.
Little
yeah.
under 5 seconds in this huge, massive limousine. It's
crazy.
an experience that is unlike anything else. Adish, have you driven a V12 before?
Never. This is the first time, and I hope it's not the last time.
And what's the thing that really stands out about a V12?
Ooh, the refinement, the sheer ease with which it carries the car. It's unbelievable. Now, this isn't an Aventador, so it's not ricocheting off the red line all the time. But for a limousine, it just picks it up and just like gently carries it with such pace. It's unbelievable.
And the smoothness of it, it's the next level. The smoothness is just absolutely phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
It's like butter.
Yeah.
Or it's like
really
melted butter.
hot knife and butter, that cliche, you know?
Yeah, it's and you're doing 150, 180 clicks,
Yeah.
and you step on it, and then it just takes off from there.
Like-
Normal cars, 150, 180, it's there, it's about at the limit.
Yeah.
There's
But-
nothing much, but here, oof.
Mind blown. I'm mind blown properly. We've all, yeah.
And the other thing is the luxury of the S-Class, the Maybach. The S-Class, we've always talked about it being the best car in the world.
Yeah.
This is taking the best car in the world to the next level.
Yeah.
Now, you're sitting at the back. These seats, right now, my seat has got a classic massage on. Yours has got a...
I copied your massage. I thought you knew better.
So you should try the hot, relaxing massage. It's got cool seats, so my seat coolers are on. It's got a Burmester sound system.
Which are damn cool. These things, I don't know if you can see them in the frame, but they come out and they rotate, and it's unbelievable the amount of stuff they've.
Seat belts, it's got an airbag in it.
Yeah, so you don't
So-
get those ugly scars.
Yeah. The headrest has got this soft cushion. Of course, the regular S-Class also gets a soft cushion,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like it. The seats obviously recline. At
You
the
got a
press of
footrest there.
yeah, at the press of a button, it becomes a full business class seat. I'm just worried that if I press this thing, oh yeah, okay, well,
I might fall
nothing's-
asleep mid-podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is ridiculous. Well, okay, it's not very elegant to be doing a podcast like this. So
That's it.
the thing is that we've got a V12 on test, and just this week, another electric hypercar was launched.
Yeah.
Lotus, which was, and you pointed this out to me, that what was Lotus? Lotus always made affordable sports cars,
Yeah,
small,
light.
light sports
Yeah.
cars. Colin Chapman, founder of Lotus, his famous words were add lightness. And now Lotus is making an electric hypercar.
Yeah.
400 and something horsepower at each wheel, almost 2000 PS of power.
Yeah.
The 0 to
it's
300 in under 9 seconds.
For me, I just find it hard to imagine something like that with a Lotus badge. I think it costs, what, 1.4, 1.5 million dollars or pounds. or
extraordinary
something.
prices.
Yeah. I mean, Lotuses are supposed to be affordable. They're supposed to be accessible sports cars, and this is just, I mean, it's unreal, and I don't know where Geely is planning to take Lotus with this, but I'm just like, I'm not liking it.
Well, the thing is that this could be the future. If it is the future, fast cars are not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
In fact, with electric motors, fast cars will become even faster. Supercars are going to become hypercars. So speed is never going to be a problem.
Yeah.
What might be a problem is that whole sense of theater that a V12 engine or a V8 engine, regular IC engines give you. Electric car manufacturers will have to think of something on those lines to deliver that same experience that you would normally get in an IC engine car.
I read something interesting. Rishad from Autocar, he had gone and ridden the new Harley Davidson electric motorcycle, and he said, it's so fast and it's so unbelievable the way they've engineered it, but it's possible that everybody's electric motorcycles are going to feel the same, and similar for cars,
Yeah.
So what is the differentiator going to be?
Exactly.
How are you going to differentiate how an electric car feels apart from the way it looks?
Which is why I'm very interested to see what Porsche will do with the Taycan.
Yeah.
Because Porsche, they make great sports cars. Their entire history, heritage, of course the money is coming from the Cayenne and the Macan and all of that, but their history, heritage is sports cars.
Yeah.
they know and they understand sports cars. So I think what the Taycan, what they can do with the Taycan, that will be a benchmark, will be like a bellwether for the entire electric car industry, and to see the future of cars that we are going to be driving.
And Porsche has this knack for taking a new technology and like honing it and perfecting it and extracting the most out of it. They did it with turbochargers.
They did it with turbos. Before that, they did it with electric power steerings.
Yeah.
Because up until then, everybody dissed electric power steerings. And when the 911 first got electric power steering, the internet melted down.
Yeah.
All the keyboard warriors went mental that, oh, Porsche, electric power steering. But you drive a Porsche with an electric power steering and you would not miss hydraulic. In fact, if you did not know cars really, really intimately, more so than journalists, if you're not like a hardcore engineer, you wouldn't even know that it has got electric and not hydraulic power steering.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with an EV, you know, whether they can actually hone that to something we actually enjoy.
Yeah. So speaking about the future, now let's come to the present. And you just drove a car that's going to be launched next month, right?
Yeah, the Kia Seltos. So we finally got our hands in it in India. I believe you've driven it too before.
I drove it in Seoul.
Yeah, so we finally drove it here in India. We drove pre-production cars. These were cars that that are coming off the production line to get quality in check, to train the technicians on speed and, you know, quality checks and stuff like that. So these aren't final production cars, but they're pretty close to what we can expect.
And were you impressed?
Very. I have to say I'm very, very impressed because it's got familiar but solid underpinnings, you know, in the Creta. But then it adds so much in terms of features and so much in terms of styling, you know. It looks really handsome. You see it moving. I mean, it's one thing seeing it standing on a stand in a auto expo hall sort of thing, you know. But when you see it on the road moving, it really looks good.
And the interiors too. It's got interiors which are one step above the Creta. It's an all-new architecture inside. It's got a larger touchscreen. It's got Bose sound system, which sounds very good.
The whole suite of connectivity. We first saw it on the Venue.
On the Venue.
It's everything. This has got everything, and it's got really, really cool drivetrains.
Yep.
You know, so it's got 3 different engines. It's got a naturally aspirated petrol. It's got a turbo petrol with a DCT, mind you, 7-speed, and it's got a diesel. All of them have automatics, all of them have manuals. So there's a total of 6 total drivetrain options for you. It's what's not, I mean, I can't think of anything that the car doesn't have.
Well, the one thing that it does not have, and if it is going to be priced at the Hector's price, is space. Yesterday, in fact, we took the Hector and we brought along its rivals, the Harrier as well as the Creta. There's been a lot of talk around the Hector, and just to sum up the verdict very quickly, the Hector is something that if you were to be chauffeur driven in, you definitely choose the Hector. For its price, what it gives you is unbelievable. The value is incredible, and you get a very spacious, very airy cabin and very comfortable too. If you want to drive, you definitely take the Tata Harrier. It's much nicer. That Land Rover Discovery platform is more mature, more sophisticated. It feels much nicer to drive. NVH not so great. The interiors does not feel as great as the Hector, obviously. And the Creta is the sensible choice. If you want to be safe, take the Creta. You will not regret it one bit. But what neither of these have is the Hector's space. And that will be its biggest trump card when it comes to the Seltos, right?
Yeah, so when they launch the Seltos, we suspect it will be around the Hector's price, maybe a little more considering how much tech they're packing into it. But
come on, but the tech, what more can the Seltos have that the Hector does not?
I don't know, see, this is my rationale. The Creta is a lakh under the Hector at the moment. Now, they would, if you consider the amount of tech they're packing in over the Creta, I would say it would go maybe a little more than a lakh. You know, variant for variant.
But do you think it should be more than a lakh?
I hope it's not.
I also hope it's not. I hope Kia prices it aggressively. After all, they are a new player in the market. Now, the Indian market, as we've seen, is very open to accepting new brands. There's no baggage. There's no that, oh, this is new and no thinking about it. And plus, Kia has that whole Hyundai's good reputation to fall back on.
This new brand thing. I was at the Hector dealership yesterday. The dealership was packed. It was a weekday at 5:30 in the evening. It was packed. There were families, their kids running around. It was like a field day for everybody.
Yeah, I pass that dealership. It's on Boat Club Road. It's 2 minutes away from my house. I pass it every day. It's always packed. Sometimes at 9 o'clock it's packed. The lights are on.
And there were cars being delivered, and I was quite surprised. You know, I thought.
In fact, on the deliveries, MG has stopped taking orders because the bookings have been so much that they aren't geared up to produce so many cars. So they've stopped bookings, and that's fantastic considering where the market is right now. And every day you read in the papers that the auto industry, another slump. But the thing is that if you develop and if you offer to the customer something new, something exciting, and something that is extremely well priced, don't forget about that, extremely well priced, there are customers for it. The Hector is a great example. The Seltos, if it is priced very well, you will see a big rush in Kia dealerships
Let's
also.
hope so. I actually enjoyed driving the car, and I want it to do well. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is what's coming next month. As for next week, well, we got a packed calendar.
Yeah.
I'm off to Delhi. There's a new X7 that's being launched. There's a new 7 Series that's being launched. So super premium luxury BMWs, driven both of them, and they are fantastic. In fact, the X7, I don't like the styling too much, and I did diss it a lot on social media. But when I saw it in America, and America is going to be the largest market, China the second largest market. In fact, in America, when you place it against those F-150, F-250 pickups, it actually shrinks in size. We were going down the freeway, a Hummer went past it, and the X7 looks like an Alto compared to that. Because in America, everything is oversized, everything is large. So when you consider the market that is made for, it's actually well proportioned and elegantly styled. Come to think of it, you have to put it into perspective, really. And in India, looking at that big grille in your rear view mirror, you will pull aside, you will let it pass. And that is also another plus point. Plus, it is fantastic to drive. You would think something that's this huge would be a barge, but it really handles. And the engineers out there, they say that the lap time is the same as the earlier generation V8 M3 around the Nürburgring.
Wow.
Can you imagine
That's
that
something.
huge monster lapping the Nürburgring in the same time as an earlier M3? Phenomenal.
Crazy.
So those two, and then I'll be doing some cool driving.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Chennai racetrack and driving the Huracan Evo.
Don't get me started again.
So that's something I'm really looking forward to. In fact, amongst all 3 tracks in India, I particularly like the Chennai racetrack. It is great fun to drive, very involving. There's no time to breathe or rest, and it's just a mad rush. And something like the Huracan Evo will be...
Is it big enough for the Huracan Evo? Or is it...
well, the BIC would be slightly more suited, but driving at the Chennai track would be phenomenal. It would be an awesome time. I just hope we have a good lead driver who lets us drive and who considers that, okay, we've driven at the Chennai track, so we know the lines and all of that.
It's like the Porsche thing you went for.
Yeah, so I did the PWRS at the BIC last month, and we had a very cool lead driver who realized that we've driven on the track, we know the lines, and we're not stupid drivers. So there was one slower guy, so he told the guy to just hang back, and he let us push those cars. So, of course, at the braking points, he took it a little easy. He didn't want us to go into him or create a problem. But on the faster stuff, he let us push through the corners. We could push the cars, and that really put the 911 in a new light. The new 911 in a new light to me.
And that's where you drove the Macan, which is also incidentally launching very soon.
So, the Macan, okay, it's an SUV, and there is a bit of body roll. And when you're following a fast, well-driven Macan, you can see the body lean. But it really moves. For an SUV, you would not think an SUV is that quick and can handle as well. What Porsche do with their engineering, man, they are brilliant. It's an SUV, but it does not feel like an SUV when you drive it. It does feel like an SUV when you go over speed breakers and potholes and you say, oh, nothing's touching.
But that's why you wanted to feel like an
Exactly.
SUV. Yeah?
And that's why we keep saying India is a land for fast SUVs. A lot of people diss SUVs, but an SUV has got ride comfort, it's got ground clearance, so you don't have to slow down too much for bad roads, for speed breakers, for potholes, yet it has mind-numbing performance. And that makes India a land for SUVs, and that's why SUVs, everybody wants SUVs.
You should
the
see our
Hector,
Instagrams,
Harrier, Seltos, all of that.
One way to see what's happening with the car industry and the trends is just to scroll through people like his Instagrams. You'll just see SUVs everywhere. Because that's what we're driving these days. That's what everybody's launching. That's all the new cars these days are just bloody SUVs.
Of course, you will see a lot of V12 Maybach pictures now. Because what a car. If V12s are going to die, what a way to go. A twin turbocharged V12, 1000 Newton meters of torque. There is no way to really put this into words. The sheer refinement, the exuberance, the impact of putting a foot down on a V12 engine. And then you can do this. You can go off to sleep in the back of the Maybach. Man, this is...
Before he goes to sleep, let's just end this right here. Okay, that's it for this week's episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. He's going to have a chill time here. I'm going to go head out, drive the other car we've got.
Even my paunch is taking it. I don't normally have a paunch. This is the car.
It's the car. It's the car.
See you next week.